Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are scaring down one of the most unsettling questions in modern life.
Mm.
It's a question that I think nags at everyone who's ever worked a 60-hour week.
Hmm.
You're working hard, you're putting in all the hours, you're running flat out, checking all the right boxes. So why are you still trapped? Why does it feel like you're on a treadmill just going nowhere?
That feeling, that sick feeling in your stomach when you realize you're expending all this energy without any real forward movement, that is not just bad luck.
Right. It's not the economy or your boss.
Exactly. As our source material just hammers home, it is a signal. It means something deep inside, something unseen, is actively putting a ceiling on your potential and keeping you locked in place. And to move forward, you have to face that.
And that's our mission today. We are taking a flashlight into what the sources call the dark, haunted house of the mind. This deep dive isn't about external factors.
Yeah.
It's about the 10 invisible internal traps, this sort of mental architecture that keeps most people stuck in a cycle of poverty and lack no matter how hard they work.
That haunted house metaphor is just perfect because these barriers, they don't announce themselves. There are no flashing lights. They operate in the shadows of your daily thinking.
And they form the foundation of the whole struggle.
They do. We're talking about things like the pervasive poverty mindset, the aimless energy of having no clear goals, and the suffocating pressure of limiting beliefs, which are basically the mind's default settings.
And as we go deeper into this house, we hit these psychological blocks that just stop action in its tracks. The paralysis of fear, that crippling reflection of a shattered self-image.
And the active refusal to learn the rules of the game, which the source calls ignorance of success secrets.
Then finally, you've got these, structural barriers, the habits that govern how we deal with the world.
Right, the really practical stuff. The ceiling that comes from the time for money trap, the failure to even see a better future because of a dying imagination, the heavy influence of poisonous social circles.
And the last one, that fatal stopping point, crippling indecision. So we're going to walk through this house, room by room, and really look at the source of the gloom. And the air might be cold in there, but in the corner of each of these rooms, there's a key to escape.
And what's so powerful is that you can see historical giants like Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Edison, even Nikola Tesla facing these exact same dark forces.
Yeah, and we see them either succumb, and we'll get into one tragic story there, or completely defeat the internal struggle.
Yeah.
So this deep dive is your blueprint for that fight. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've kicked open the door of this haunted house, and the first room it's imposing. This is where it all begins, the poverty mindset.
We step in, and you can just feel the chill, the scarcity. This is that cold, dimly lit chamber, and it's haunted by these whispers of, na, na.
Not enough.
And it is absolutely critical for you, the learner, to get this distinction. Poverty is your condition. It's a measurable lack of resources. A poverty mindset, on the other hand, is a psychological state. It's the deep-seated belief that lack and failure are just inevitable.
So it's the difference between having $5 in your pocket today
Right.
and having the absolute conviction that you will never, ever be capable of earning more than $5. I mean, our sources describe this person who's just constantly sighing, I'll never have money, my family always struggled, this is just my fate.
That belief, that's the poison. It's this invisible cage made entirely of thought, and it restricts your access to opportunity before you even try to open the door.
And if your mind is programmed for that kind of doom and gloom, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it?
It does, and there's real cognitive science behind this. We've talked about confirmation bias before, but this is it in action. Your brain's filtering system, the reticular activating system, is basically told, hey, go find evidence of my struggle.
And it does.
Oh, it's brilliant at its job. It instantly finds every unpaid bill, every lost deal, every door that slams in your face. It's constantly confirming your truth that you're doomed.
Which explains why, when someone with this mindset hears about a successful person, the immediate reaction is, oh, they had connections, or they had it easy.
Or that's just luck. It dismisses any evidence to the contrary. It's a defense mechanism, really. These thoughts are chains, and they make it impossible to see the possibility of taking action or learning something new.
The person is almost like a brilliant lawyer arguing for their own limitations.
That's a great way to put it. They are defensive protectors of their current reality, even if that reality is incredibly painful.
What's so fascinating, though, is seeing this cage just get demolished. And the source highlights the story of Thomas Edison, I mean, think about the mental blueprint he was given.
It's unbelievable. He's expelled from school. His teacher calls him mentally deficient and addled.
That is the definition of a deep, cruel, externally imposed poverty mindset that's designed to install a lifetime of self-doubt.
It's a curse that should have defined his entire life. But the key detail here, and this is the big takeaway for you listening, is his mother. She didn't just feel sorry for him. She actively refused to accept that curse. She did not let that external label become Edison's internal reality. She nurtured his curiosity. She chose faith over that teacher's cruel assessment.
So he was effectively reprogrammed.
He was, by choice and by his environment. He refused to accept that poverty mentality as gospel. His mind was rewired.
That's the ultimate counterexample. He just melted that deficient label. Yeah. It shows you can be thrown into the cage, but you still hold the power to refuse the thoughts that lock the door.
Yes.
But okay, for the listener who doesn't have a mother actively telling them they're a genius, how do they start breaking that spell on their own?
Well, the action steps in the source material are brilliant because they force that cognitive shift. They bypass the confirmation bias.
Okay, so the first one, they say to grab a mirror, maybe literally.
Yeah.
And you have to list 3 things you did well yesterday.
And it can be small things. You paid a bill, you finished a tough email, you went for a walk. This isn't just fluffy self-help.
No, it's training.
It's training. It forces your brain, which is primed to see failure, to actively go out and seek evidence of positive action. You're retraining your own filter.
The second step is about your internal dialogue. So when you catch yourself thinking, I can't, you have to immediately challenge it with, how can I?
And that shift is so powerful. It moves you from being a passive victim to an active problem solver. It acknowledges the limitation. The how is unknown, but it immediately pivots to searching for an answer. It's a tiny decision with huge consequences.
And finally, you have to feed your mind. Surround yourself with proof that it's possible. Read biographies of people who rose from nothing. Lincoln, Oprah, Ford. You need their stories and their thoughts to fuel your own internal narrative.
That's like you're downloading a new script for your mind to follow, one that slowly dissolves the walls of that not enough chamber.
Okay, so from that chamber of mindset, we move into the next room. There's dust motes in the air, drifting papers. This is the trap of aimless wandering.
Yes, a life of exhausting activity, but with no compass. You see a person here in an empty boat, rowing frantically, sweating, working so hard. But the foggy horizon never, ever changes.
I think we all know this feeling. The person is working hard, probably harder than most, but their energy is just scattered. They have the desire, they have the effort, but no precise point on the map.
They're just trying to get away from struggle, not towards a specific destination. And the great success teacher, Bob Proctor, he really emphasized this. You have to know exactly what you want.
Right.
Without a vivid, defined goal, all that frantic rowing just means you end up right back where you started, still adrift.
The consequence of that drift is really subtle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you might be doing good work. You're a dedicated employee, but you never connect those daily actions to creating wealth or real progress.
The days just blur. Coffee, job, home, repeat. There's no buildup, no crescendo of success because there's no plan driving the action forward, and years just slip by.
It's a physics problem, really. You can have massive force, which is the hard work. But if that force is applied randomly, your velocity, your progress is 0.
Precisely. And Lincoln is the perfect counter-narrative here. He came from absolutely nothing. Poverty, obscurity. He had every reason to be discouraged.
People were literally taunting him. Poor boy, who's going to take you seriously?
Exactly. But he didn't succumb to it. Why? Because his goals were bigger than the taunts. He had clear, written aims. First, become a lawyer. Then unite a divided nation. His mind wasn't a drifting boat. It was a set of stars he was navigating by.
So his daily decisions had weight, they had purpose.
Yes, they all pointed in the same direction.
So how do we install that kind of internal gravity? The source material highlights Proctor's method, which is very, very actionable.
First, you have to get hyper-specific. Write one clear, vivid goal on paper. It has to be tangible, measurable. Not, I want to be rich.
Yeah.
It has to be, I will earn a net income of $150,000 by December 31st of next year. Or, I will start my consulting business by April 1st. That specificity forces your subconscious to see it as real, not just a fantasy.
And then you carry it with you. You read it aloud every morning and every night.
And that's not just a gimmick. That act of reading it aloud is a form of sensory input. It bypasses your rational mind, which might be full of doubt, and it starts to confirm the goal is true, even if your bank account disagrees at the moment.
It's like you're constantly reorienting your ship.
Constantly. And second, you break that massive goal down into steps. You set hard deadlines for each milestone. If you want that $150,000, what projects or clients do you need to get first? You work backward from the goal.
It turns this huge, scary ambition into manageable daily tasks.
It does. And finally, commitment through accountability. Tell someone, a supportive mentor, a friend, tell them the goal. Their questions will force you to be even clearer. And checking in weekly, that external pressure keeps the ship moving forward, especially on days when you feel like giving up.
Okay, that leads us to the third foundational trap, and this one might be the most insidious. It's the operating system running everything else. We enter this dim cave, and it's lined with chains of old beliefs.
These are limiting paradigms. I'm not smart enough. Success is just for lucky people. Or the classic, money is evil.
And these aren't just recent thoughts. They're mental programs. They're the operating system that got downloaded into our minds when we were kids, from our family, our culture.
And if you grew up hearing that rich people are crooks, or that your family just never gets ahead, that becomes your default guide. It's your inherited identity. The trap is you practice failure without even realizing it.
Because the paradigms govern your actions. It's unconscious sabotage.
Completely. You mutter these scripts to yourself, I'm too old to change, or I'll never understand finance, and your subconscious just accepts them as fact. And then it subtly makes sure you avoid situations that might prove that script wrong.
So you won't take the course. You won't apply for the promotion.
You won't save the money because, it'll just disappear anyway. Your autopilot's always whispering, stay comfortable, we already tried that, let's not bother.
It's that brick versus bird analogy from the source. If you genuinely believe you're a heavy, unmovable brick, you'll never even try to fly.
You have to shed that old shell. You have to conceptually become a bird in your own mind before your actions can follow. And that takes a conscious act of will.
Which brings us back to Edison's mother. She wasn't just overcoming a negative label. She was installing new, productive mental software.
She was. When that teacher sent home that damning assessment, she actively reprogrammed him. She installed the belief, yes, you can, you are a genius. And that new program gave him permission to operate above his circumstances.
Which is why people like Bob Proctor were so big on affirmations. They're designed to install that new software.
Exactly. When Edison was applying for patents, he wasn't defaulting to the old belief, I'm deficient, I can't do this. He was operating from the new paradigm. I am a creator. I am a problem solver.
So if our operating system is corrupted, how do we start rewriting the code ourselves?
The first step is it's painful awareness. You have to actively catch your negative self-talk. Write down those nagging thoughts, I'm too old, I'm unqualified. And then you write the exact opposite statement, a power statement, 10 times. You are actively installing a new app on your mental phone.
And then you reinforce it. Constant learning.
Constant reinforcement. Proctor waking up at 4 a.m. to study for hours. That was about flooding his mind with positive, successful scripts until the old limiting code was finally erased. Even just 10 minutes a day of reading a biography or watching a skills video is continuous rewiring.
You're feeding your mind proof that the new system works.
And the third and most powerful action is using direct I am statements. Stop thinking, I wish I were rich. You have to switch it to, I am becoming wealthy, or I am capable of mastering this. Repeating these floods your brain with a new message, rewriting those deep beliefs, and guiding your actions toward that new reality.
Okay, so we've established the cognitive foundation. But what happens when those thoughts stop us from taking actual physical action? We're moving now to the psychological barriers.
Right, the things that prevent external movement and learning.
And this next room is dominated by a massive rusted door. This is the terror barrier.
And behind that door is the next phase of your life, the successful career, the new business, the breakthrough. But fear. Fear holds that lock in place. And that internal voice convinces you to stay safe, even if safety means being completely unfulfilled.
And that voice is so convincing. Don't rock the boat. You might lose what little you have, or I'm not ready. I just need one more class, one more certification.
Fear is a liar, and it's a massive energy drainer. It yells stop, when in fact, stepping forward is the only way to grow.
Bob Proctor had such a revolutionary take on this. He taught that fear isn't a stop sign. It's a signal.
It's a signal that you are moving into new, significant territory. He said if your goal doesn't scare you a little bit, it's probably too small. You have to believe that on the other side of that rusted door is your growth, your capability. You feel fear because you are growing past your current paradigm.
That immediately reminds me of Joseph Campbell's great line, The cave we fear to enter holds the treasure that we seek.
That's it, exactly.
And the cost of avoiding that door forever is just massive. It's a life of regret. You spend decades just existing on the wrong side of your potential.
And think about Edison again. He failed thousands of times before creating a viable light bulb. Imagine the sheer terror, the potential embarrassment, the financial ruin every time a filament blew up. But he kept stepping forward. He treated failure as feedback, not as fate.
So how do we start to conquer this? How do you chip away at that big rusted door?
The first action step is a bit counterintuitive. You set a tiny, scary goal. Do one uncomfortable thing today. Call that mentor you're afraid of. Send that pitch email. You need a small, immediate win to prove to yourself that nothing catastrophic happened. You build bravery through small acts.
And second, you consciously reframe the physical feeling of fear. So when your heart is racing or your stomach flips,
You congratulate yourself. You literally say, this is it. This is the feeling of growth. I'm onto something big. And that transforms paralyzing anxiety into useful, motivating adrenaline.
you're reframing it as positive energy.
You are. And the final, most powerful move is to focus relentlessly on the why. Paint a vivid picture of life after the breakthrough. The freedom, the travel, supporting your family. When those benefits are clear and emotional in your mind, the fear of change just shrinks. It becomes a speed bump, not a wall.
From the terror barrier, we move into the room of the shattered mirror. This is where low self-image creeps in, that little voice whispering, "You're not worthy of success."
And the person here is just bent under the weight of past failures and insults, believing they are fundamentally not enough.
And this is more than just feeling down, right?
Much more. The World Bank report we looked at specifically mentioned this. A major effect of long-term struggle is a low self-image and its blunting of aspirations. If you don't feel worthy, your actions reflect that. You won't even dare to dream big enough to win.
You self-reject before anyone else even has a chance to.
You do. The shattered pieces of that mirror, they reflect every negative message you've ever heard. People like us stay poor. I don't belong in that room. And the tragedy is, the person internalizes these messages and then unconsciously obeys them, shrinking to fit their diminished self-worth.
This is why Lincoln's story is so incredible here. I mean, he came from utter poverty, and he battled severe clinical depression his whole life.
Yet he was a master of self-programming. He educated himself, he articulated a vision of himself that was far grander than his surroundings, and he spoke as if he already belonged in the halls of power. He refused to let his feelings of inadequacy define his potential.
But let's go back to Edison. Isn't telling a kid they're a genius just creating external validation? What if the listener doesn't have that? How do you self-generate that belief?
That is a crucial question. And the sources suggest that while his mother provided the initial validation, what was important was Edison's choice to internalize and act on that belief. He maintained the image she gave him. For the rest of us, we have to become our own supportive parent in that sense.
We have to generate the validation internally.
We do, by celebrating the small wins. Not because they're world-changing, but because they are proof points that contradict that unworthy narrative.
So the action steps have to be about that internal maintenance, gluing the mirror back together.
First, you have to immediately reject negative labels. When that thought, "I'm unworthy," pops up, you interrupt it instantly. And you replace it with a positive truth. "I am learning more every day," or "I possess valuable skills." You have to say it aloud to start building that new reflection.
Second, that victory journal we talked about. It's vital here. Keep a record of minor victories, paying a bill on time, writing a clear goal. This practice builds confidence and pride, proving to yourself daily that you are capable.
And the third step is visualization. Spend just a minute a day picturing your stronger future hero self. The person achieving the goals, feeling capable and confident. Top athletes and leaders do this. It gradually reshapes how you see yourself over time, preparing you to actually execute when the opportunity comes.
Okay, this next room. It has piles of success manuals, but they're all unopened, covered in dust.
This is trap 6, lack of studying success. It's the refusal to learn from those who have already won, treating wealth like it's a mystery or a lottery instead of a skill or a science.
The person here just believes success is magic, so they don't even bother opening the blueprint.
And this goes right back to that famous Bob Proctor quip. Work hard on yourself and you'll make a fortune. Work hard on your job and you'll make a living.
So it's not that hard work is bad.
Not at all. But he argued that it's comfortable to just grind at the job. It's physically tiring, but it's mentally easy because it's familiar. Working hard on yourself, studying the mind, habits, finance, That's mentally taxing. It demands you admit you don't already know everything.
Which is a hit to the ego.
A huge one. So the costly oversight is thinking you can climb the mountain without a map. Success has a recipe. Ignoring the blueprint is like trying to bake a cake without the instructions. You might work really hard, but you're just going to burn dinner.
The sources have this really painful contrast here. On one hand, you have Thomas Edison, failed out of school, judged deficient, but he became a lifelong student. He was curious, he read endlessly, studied until his 80s.
Constantly adapting, and then you contrast that with the brilliant tragic story of Nikola Tesla.
A pure genius.
A visionary dreaming in electric colors. But he neglected the nuts and bolts of business, finance, and human nature. He ignored the practical lessons of money, how to structure deals, how to manage patents.
And he died penniless.
Exactly. He thought a genius didn't need the practical blueprint. He believed his intellect alone was enough. It was a catastrophic mistake that just underlines the point. Intellect and hard work don't guarantee wealth. Studying the science of success does.
So how do we become an active student of success and avoid ending up like a brilliant but broke Tesla?
You start small. 15 minutes a day. That's it. Read or listen to biographies, personal development books, a high-quality financial podcast. Consistent, focused input is essential. You're programming your mind with successful scripts.
And be specific. Study your target. If you want to build a business, read books by top entrepreneurs in that field.
Yes, find the specific formula for your desired outcome rather than just reading generically. It saves time and focuses your energy.
And third, shortcut the process. Find a mentor. Enroll in a course.
Paying for knowledge that saves you 5 years of trial and error is always a brilliant investment. You can leapfrog years of costly mistakes.
All right, we've gone through the internal blocks. Now we're moving into the structural and environmental habits that put hard limits on your potential, even if your mindset is right.
And the 7th room is filled with these frantic spinning clocks. You can almost smell the exhaustion.
This is the time for money trap.
The person inside believes their hours are the only way to earn an income, and this sets an immediate, immovable ceiling on your earnings.
Proctor said this is one of the biggest reasons people never get ahead. If you only know how to earn by trading time for money, I make $50 an hour, you're fundamentally limited by the 24 hours in a day. You hit a hard plateau.
It's an outdated model. And the analogy is stark. You're digging a well one scoop at a time when you should be building a drilling system. If you aren't building something, a system, a property, intellectual property, that pays you while you sleep, you are always vulnerable.
You've confused effort with leverage.
That's the perfect way to say it.
And the Edison solution is key here. He didn't stay a floor renovator. He used his early wages to move into inventions and patents. He created multiple income streams.
He didn't just work more hours, he made his work scale. He generated continuous leveraged income. He shattered the stagnation of a single paycheck.
So how do we break out of this hourglass?
First, you have to create one passive income stream, however small. A bond, a dividend stock, a simple digital product. The goal is to prove to your own mind that money can arrive without your direct, immediate presence and work.
Second, you have to learn to scale your work. How do you multiply your efforts? Can you train others? Create an app or a course? Automate tasks? You have to shift your identity from being a laborer to being a system creator.
And finally, you set a clear growth goal that's focused on leverage, not hours. Aim to double your earnings without doubling your hours. That goal is impossible to achieve by just working harder. It forces you to find smarter methods.
Higher prices, better clients, delegation.
Exactly. It forces innovation.
From the clocks, we move to a room where a person is just staring at a blank, colorless wall, seeing only bills, responsibilities, the empty wallet.
This is the lack of imagination, the mind that refuses to build a dream. It becomes tragically blind to possibilities beyond its current misery.
It's what the source calls blank mind syndrome. People who feel intensely stuck often have trouble even formulating a positive future. They're so consumed by today's problems, they can't conceive of tomorrow's solutions.
And if you tell yourself, I just can't think of anything, your mind obeys. It won't even try. It's operating purely in survival mode, not creative mode.
But imagination is the workshop of the mind. It's where fortunes are built. Think of Tesla, Disney, Steve Jobs. They imagined worlds and devices others couldn't see, and then they made them real.
Proctor warned us about this. He said, "We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. Without it, you're just shuffling papers, never asking, what if we did this differently?" It's a passive acceptance of a very limited reality.
So we need exercises to reignite this part of the brain. Where do we start?
You start by visualizing your best day. Spend 5 focused minutes every day imagining the details of your perfect future day. Where you are, what you're doing, how you feel. It's a simple exercise that flexes the imagination muscle.
And second, use the power of what if. Brainstorm wildly about a current problem with no judgment. What if I charged per project instead of per hour? What if I launched a business with only $500?
And you write down every answer, no matter how ridiculous. The goal at first is quantity over quality. You're just trying to force your mind out of its rut.
Even one good idea can start a chain reaction.
It can. And finally, you have to train your brain to see new scenarios. Seek out new perspectives, read science fiction, watch documentaries on unrelated topics, play brainstorming games. You have to expose your mind to new concepts to stop it from defaulting back to that colorless wall.
Okay, this next room smells of negativity. It's filled with sour faces.
This is the wrong environment. The person inside is shrinking, breathing in the doubt from friends and family who mock their big dreams. Careful, or you'll become a snob. Who do you think you are?
Environment is the air you breathe. If everyone around you is downplaying ambition, it just rubs off. The World Bank report mentioned this, that in struggling communities, people face intense social pressure to conform.
These investments in social capital, they call it. And it can be as simple as being expected to fund social events when you should be saving, or being mocked for studying instead of hanging out.
Proctor was so clear on this. Amateurs compete, pros create. The wrong environment will limit you, it will drain your energy, and it will keep you small. Misery loves company.
And stagnation loves company.
So the historical solution is profound, but it's often really difficult. Edison moved out of his small town of doubters. Lincoln physically left home to establish himself in Illinois.
They had to change their geography, or at least change their company to change their world.
So to cleanse your world, what are the steps?
First, you have to limit exposure to the doubters. And this isn't about being rude, it's self-preservation. You politely but firmly step back from conversations that belittle your ambition. You have to protect your mental garden.
Second, you actively seek out success-minded people. Join clubs, professional forums, classes where ambition is contagious. That positive peer pressure is invaluable.
And third, you curate your media intake ruthlessly. Inhale fresh air, watch inspirational content, read biographies, listen to motivational speakers. You're actively replacing the environmental toxicity.
We've reached the final chamber of the haunted house, and this one is a monstrous spiderweb of mirrors, reflecting every single possible choice.
And the person in the middle is terrified of choosing wrong. They are paralyzed by analysis. This is crippling indecision.
Bob Proctor was so blunt about this. He said, indecision causes disintegration. Inaction doesn't preserve your options. It breaks down your momentum, your confidence, your opportunities. They just wither and vanish while you sit at the crossroads.
And it highlights the difference between someone with a strong self-image who learns from mistakes and the fearful person who is convinced any error will ruin them completely.
Indecision is just fear disguised as caution.
It is. It's the tragedy of standing frozen on a railroad track as a train approaches because you can't decide whether to step left or right. The cost of inaction far outweighs the cost of a wrong turn, which is almost always recoverable.
So the liberating mantra here, the key to this final trap is decide right where you are with whatever you've got.
You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need 100% confidence. A decision, even a wrong one, generates feedback. And feedback is necessary for course correction and momentum. Stagnation generates nothing.
Edison decided to try 10,000 ways. He wasn't paralyzed by failure. He was liberated by the decision to act.
So how do we break this paralysis?
First, set a strict time limit for decisions. 5 minutes for small ones, maybe 24 hours for big ones. You have to decide and move. This forces your brain to prioritize and get past minor details.
Second, go for imperfect progress. Aim for 80% confidence, not 100. Perfection is an illusion used by the indecisive to justify stalling. You have to believe most mistakes are fixable.
And finally, you have to practice the muscle. Start by quickly deciding trivial things. What to have for lunch, which shirt to wear. You build the decision-making muscle in low-stakes environments, and you'll soon find the regret of not acting hurts far more than any wrong move you could have made.
So we've walked through the entire haunted house, room by room, and the main crucial revelation is this. These 10 traps are not external economic forces. They are internal curses. And they are beaten not by luck, but by choice. The choice to change your mind.
Every great person who rose from nothing in a log cabin, Edison in his basement. They chose to change their mindset, to set massive goals, to learn the blueprint, to imagine a better future, and most importantly, to act. The blueprint is right there, but you have to pick it up.
And that treasure in the cave is not just a metaphor. It is your ultimate untapped potential. And it's just waiting on the other side of that terror barrier. The path forward is clear.
So let's synthesize those 4 essential actions for you right now, learner. First, power up your mindset. Speak kindly to yourself. Actively replace thoughts of scarcity with abundance. Your mindset is the filter.
Second, set fierce goals. Make them specific, big enough to scare you, and chase them daily. Read them aloud, morning and night. Don't drift.
Third, study and persist. Dedicate time, even just 15 minutes a day, to reading 1 page or doing one hard thing that moves you forward. You are actively reprogramming yourself.
And finally, act now. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Decide with what you have, right where you are, and run with it. Every day you delay, you lose momentum, confidence, and opportunity.
We've uncovered the patterns, we've seen the evidence. Now here is the final thought to carry with you as you exit this deep dive.
The most terrifying thought shouldn't be making a mistake, or even failing spectacularly. The most terrifying thought should be the idea of a life that is unchanged. The consequence of spending the next 5 years exactly where you are today. Let the fear of stagnation light a fire under you. You owe it to yourself to break these patterns, just as history's greatest did. You have the power to scare that poverty mindset right out of your mind and watch a new reality take its place. Go now and take that first decisive step.